That's right. What's going on, ladies and gents? Jake, a.k.a. Countdown Ended, coming to you live. Everybody on the Twitch got to see the full version of that. They got to see the exclusive full version of the intro for Drunken Somewhere. Spaz, are you alive?
I am very tired. That's all I've got. And my computer's making sound. There we go.
This show, it was something. It was certainly a wild ride. I was kind of all over the place with how I felt. Some matches I enjoyed immensely. Yep. Others I couldn't even slightly get into because of how much of a...
Like the main event?
Yeah, my favorite term lately. It just keeps crawling out of my ass like a damn tapeworm. Foregone conclusion. You know what would help too? Like I have not started drinking yet, and my ADD apparently is just, or anxiety is all over the place, because it would help if I put some lights on so the pretty people can at least see me. I mean, look at that. Now they're here for the merchandise. Oh, there we go. That's a little better. See, I started the stream on Twitch to test a few things, and then we went live on YouTube, except we didn't because I forgot to hit the other button. I hit it here. Then you got to hit it there. Then you got to hit OK. Remember,
I'm gotta hit it and quit it.
I'm a dumb piece of shit, but what are we gonna do? AEW Revolution in the books, my friend. Kind of a wild night. What a waste of a triple threat cash-in that was. I'm sorry, that was severely anticlimactic. Shout out to all of you sexy people in the chat on YouTube and in Twitch. I appreciate you all hanging out.
And of course, they would try to do the world title, main event, cash in, make it a three-way, heist of the century, maybe thing when they've got a Shield guy in the ring.
Yeah, hey.
But let me say, like, I said this to you before when we were talking about whether I was even going to join you tonight, because my enthusiasm for AEW is in the shitter at the best of times. But I'm going to say what I've said before, what I just finished saying on the Wrestling for Life guys stream, hanging out with them. Shout out to those guys. Go check them out if you want watch alongs. They're great. Imagine I told you, like, let's take Edge at the peak of his powers, Dean Ambrose at the peak of his powers in a match in the main event for a world title, and tell me that I wouldn't give a shit about it.
See, that's the thing, and there were so many things tonight. Again, like I said, that term that keeps coming back and just crawling its way out of me, foregone conclusion. When they have several of those matches in a row, you really get kind of bogged down because you know how the booking's going to be. And there was I think maybe two matches tonight that really could have gone either which way. And besides that,
but like.
Predictability isn't bad, but what I'm saying is they're lacking so much on the story side that the intrigue is down, so you can't even really rely on the character work to get you into it.
But the predictability comes from other things that bother us, like, what can I say? Like, let's look at the predictable matches. Okay, Kenny Omega. I like Kenny Omega. We've all had sort of a rethink on Kenny Omega, but he's still got the elite dust on him. Kenny Omega's in a match. He's going to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hangman Page is in a match. He's going to win. Mercedes Moné has bruises on her knees. She's going to win. Like,
it's again foregone conclusions, as we said, because there's the certain people, no matter what, they're not going to do that job, brother. They're just not, and they're not about putting people over. They're holding multiple titles.
The other side of the coin is people that I really enjoy on the show kicked their own asses tonight in ways that, like, sort of blew me away, as I kind of expected to be blown away, but still with that expectation, I was still blown away. The go-to for bashing AEW recently has been that match with Hangman and Swerve, where they went way too far with a bunch of stuff with the bricks and the syringes and all the excesses, right?
Yes.
Two different matches tonight proved that you can do that well because they had four people in those two matches that do excess really well. You had Fletcher and Ospreay, you had Mariah May and Toni Storm.
And that's the thing, even those matches...
two matches are my matches of the night. That cage match, man.
That cage match was incredible until...
I know what you're going to say about the ending.
Yeah.
It's one of those... I don't care. It was awesome. I was on the ride at the moment. You're not wrong.
I'm not off the ride, but it definitely, like, I sprained my neck on like an old rickety roller coaster. I was having a blast, and then we came around the corner and I went, oh God, now I need to see a chiropractor, because and we'll get into as we go down the card eventually, but these are just
Yeah.
like immediate thoughts. I was taken out of it again, like the first he did the cutter off of the cage.
Yeah.
After everything they went through, shouldn't have kicked out of that. Then he pulls off the freaking Styles Clash on the tax. I'm like, wow, he already beat him once with the Styles Clash.
Yeah.
That's a great. He kicks out, and I'm like, all right, now come on, really?
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
here's to the chat, everyone else. Nostrovia, this is part of the drunken revolution, my friend.
Nice.
That's what happens when you're full of shit. So
Yeah.
to the chat.
I can't play along. Spaz doesn't drink on a school night, but I'll toast you with my iced tea.
It's always a school night. Always somewhere.
I mean, Chris Jericho got himself out of a title match with a baseball bat to
Very true.
Hologram's face and
Peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat. You know, like
undressed a dad in front of his kids because that's not awkward.
seeing like Gravity and Hologram and all these people, and I'm like, are we watching a 2K25 like
Are
creator
you thinking?
stream?
Here's the thing, though, right? And I know it's the pre-show, and it doesn't fucking matter. Let's be real for a second. That's what kickoffs are for. Here's some stuff to get the crowd warmed up. Here's some stuff so that people aren't still filing in when the actual show starts. We know what a pre-show is for. You had Alex Abrahantes out there with Hologram and Commander, who are fun, right?
Yeah.
But I can't help the let's negate anybody that might be jumping over to WWE. Penta and Phoenix were never that special. We can put any two guys in masks with Alex Abrahantes, and it'll still be the same.
It'll work no matter what.
Like, I know somebody's going to say I got my tinfoil hat on, but did it kind of feel like that? He came out. He was still Alex Abrahantes. I kind of expected him to grab a microphone and say, Hologram says.
Yeah, it did have that kind of feel to it. And it was a bit bizarre. And that was kind of the thing of the night, like you said. We started off pretty hot, and the first match. Do you want to mention the pre-show? Because, excuse me, it's kind of notable in its own regard.
Kind of like baseball batting his way out of a title defense. Why was a world... I know it's the ROH title, and ROH is what it is, but why, even if you want to have any like illusion of being important, why would you put a world title match on the kickoff?
Yeah, then the Garcia match was really weird and kind of like silly with how they did it with Shane Taylor, Bravo, and Moriarty, and somebody. Who else was it? Sean Dean?
I know everybody has sort of soured on Adam Cole, but I mean, you could find a spot on your card for Adam Cole.
Oh, absolutely. Their kickoff main event was AJ, Big Boom AJ. Boom! They're not, obviously... that's not for me. I'm not in their, demographic, excuse me, of what they're looking for, but I just laugh because they do the same two-step shuffle to the exact same we got the Boom song that you heard him come out to,
and
but they do it just in different
backgrounds.
backgrounds.
Has to come out dressed as Orange Cassidy, so Orange Cassidy is a mascot.
Exactly. So what they do is, though, every time they have the whole family spaz, all of them. They have mom, dad, the little brother, the Rizzler, all of them, and they do the two-step, and then they go one by one, but it's just in different places. It's never different. Every short is the two-step to the fucking same song. We got the Boom.
Here's the thing, though,
so
right? Like,
I don't get it. Why are they there?
I never knew about the. I mean, I heard about the Briscoes, but I never knew about the Briscoes until I saw them in AEW.
How dare you call me out of touch, Spaz?
Right, Roddy. I never knew who they were, and then I got to see them as a tag team briefly, and one of them passes away. The other one has probably the most fan backing, sentimental following ever, sort of a Bo Dallas of AEW type situation. And you got this guy on a kickoff teaming with Orange Cassidy, who was in title contention not that long ago.
Yeah.
Like,
Orange Cassidy made that belt that he had. What was it? The Intercontinental belt? The international belt.
Yeah, back when it was
it's the Continental title and then the International title. Yeah, they changed it, like you said. So
they're gonna put them together, and somebody's gonna make the joke for a night that AEW has the Intercontinental title, and
that's the plan, actually, because they're having Okada retain till he gets to Texas, and now Kenny's got the belt, and they're gonna do a combined match where they unify, title for title. They're gonna unify the belts finally, so it would be the Intercontinental Championship, basically.
To be fair, like I'm hard on AEW, but I have to sort of say what makes sense to balance out the scales, right?
Yeah. Hold the fort so I can hit the button.
They've got too many. Okay, you're going to hit the button. All right. I don't know what I did. but they've got too many titles. They're going to merge two of the titles together. That's fine. They're going to do it as an excuse to have Kenny Omega and Okada fight one more time. That's fine. It all makes sense. It's the whole, ha ha ha, they could do the funniest thing ever and call it the Intercontinental Championship. And I'm like,
who cares?
You could just
that's
have
what
a
it
cool
is.
thing.
International Continental Intercontinental. That's exactly, if they could let them have. Why is that an issue? It doesn't. You know how many same belts? You know how many freaking U.S. titles there are out there?
But the thing is, like,
and now that we have men's and women's IC and US, and it's not that it degraded or devalued the titles, but it certainly it added to that pool of talk.
But here's the thing, but here's where I say with AEW, you could have a cool thing. Omega and Okada is a match that people want to see. It's not for me, but it's a match that a lot of people want to see. Give them the match. People want to see less belts. Let's merge the belts. You got two good moves in one there. And then there has to be that little extra, well, we could use this as an opportunity to take a dig at the WWE. Like, why?
Yeah, why? Why is that necessary?
And I mean, let's, we might as well roll. I'm not, I told you before we came online, guys, I'm not going to be here for a really, really extended amount of time because I don't have much to say and I'm tired.
That's why I'm kind of just letting you roll. And I've been sitting back and
so bail out.
Cody's going to call in afterwards and give his thoughts too. And he's going to MSG tomorrow. So not only is he a bitch for that, and I was supposed to go in his
the NXT show as well.
Not that I know of. He wanted to, but he is going to the Raw. So he's going to see that cage match between Punk and Seth. I told him to bring me in the trunk, and he was like, "You're not going to fit, fat ass." And I'm like, "Listen, I'm not 6'30" anymore. I'm like 270 now."
Yeah, I hear some people didn't get that memo.
No, they still
I'm
think
just putting
I'm
that
gigantic.
out there. I don't mean to be sticking in random references out of nowhere, but
no, I
God damn it, we should get on to the first match.
Hold on, I'll do a shot to that because that popped me, sir. Thank you. I need that.
Very nice. So okay, MJF, Hangman Page. Yes. MJF's awesome. We know this. The video package where he's like, "No, let me go. I have to prove he's a hypocrite."
Yes.
Like, he's so good at being a loser.
Here's the thing, though. They didn't quite hit the mecca that they could have with MJF being a bastard because they never fully turned Hangman.
No. But
so he was justified in burning Swerve's house because Swerve went, I guess you could say, because Swerve went and cut a promo on his goddamn infant son. You know, he broke into his house and threatened his wife and went ahead and cut a promo on his sleeping child. And nothing was really done about it until he burned his childhood home down. He didn't have anybody inside the house. He knew. I was just that was sentimental to you.
I always say there's a little bit more to MJF than whatever he's doing at the moment. Because there's always something that ties to this, something that ties to this.
But you know, when they ingratiated him with fans, when they made him our scumbag, that's when we lost it because from there it was like, oh well, everything he does. He had to try and ramp it up constantly to try to offend us, but yet we were still into it, so people were enjoying him.
But I think ever since
it ruined him as a heel, I feel like people don't want to boo him. He's getting booed because he's such a good guy, bad guy.
I think it's the other way around, where he's doing all these asshole things, but we've had that moment with him. Not only when he was being a babyface, but even before that, when he was doing storylines like the Punk storyline. God damn it, like somebody else that had their best story with Punk that we're never going to talk about. When he talked about being a kid, and you know, I wanted to go
on
to
a
wrestling.
Side note, I got to tell you this because I know I haven't mentioned this to you. When I was in college, my roommate Tim, God rest his soul, he passed away like 6 months ago, and he was a great guy. But every time he drank, he would get really aggressive and he would be like violent. So we would try and keep him just weed high, keep him away from the alcohol, or at least the hard liquor. Unless because when he would drink, he would grab his belt and try and beat the shit out of you. It would be like a game of Daddy. No one wants to play that. Right. But his favorite band in the world was AFI. And at that exact time that the Miseria Canteria, whatever, that whole album that Punk used for his entrance came out, it was like we listened to that on repeat constantly. So that's what drew me into Punk initially in Ring of Honor, because I was like, oh, I recognize this song. I didn't know who Punk was, but I recognized the theme song, and I was like, "Oh,
So
I
when he
love this
used it for
song."
one night in AEW, that was a flashback for you.
That was like, oh my God, it's 2005, 6 all over
Yeah.
again. Because I did stop watching WWE at that point in time when I was in college because we didn't pay for the cable. We didn't want to pay for cable. It was like $48 a month to get like 13 cable channels. Forget that. So what did we
And
do?
there weren't other options like we have
No,
now.
but you could spend $9.99 a month for the pay-per-view of Ring of Honor.
There you
So
go.
we would have everybody chip in $1. I'm not exaggerating. Everybody
Yeah.
would come in, chip in $1, and that would cover liquor, weed, whatever. You'd have 20 of us gather around. Everybody put in their dollars and paid for the pay-per-view and whatever else. We ordered Domino's and we'd watch Ring of Honor, and that's how it happened. And it just was like a natural progression. But I didn't watch WWE through like where Eddie Guerrero became the bad guy and turned on Ray, and then Batista turned on Ray. I missed that. I since went back and rewatched it, but I didn't see that live. And
You were supposed to be my friend.
seeing what Trek says now, he's right. He's like, I'd rather put my head through a wall than watch Moxley have the title till Dallas, but he's going to hold it until July. I'm telling you. Trust me, the source that I have, if I could out them, Spaz knows, I would be ostracized to oblivion if I said anything, but he is holding that title indefinitely. The plan is for him to lose it to a returning Darby Allin. They want to like fully document Darby's ascent on Mount Everest, and then turn that into the storyline of he needed, after he got destroyed by the Death Riders, he needed to go and like recapture his soul and find himself again. And he went to Everest and ascended the mountain to find his spirit, and now he knows that he is the spirit of AEW, and he's going to defend them from Moxley, and that's when he's going to get people behind him, a la a returning Bryan Danielson. That's going to be the draw. So it's going to be like Bryan in Darby's corner is the tentative plan.
And I'm a fan of Darby as much as anybody else. Like,
yeah.
Again, if we were going to start Steel, and I would love to see Darby Allin in WWE. I think Darby Allin showing up in NXT would be hilarious.
That would be nuts. He'd probably jump through some type of glass, just to show off.
But it is one of those things where WWE, or not WWE or AEW specifically, but wrestling in general has this opposite mentality of, oh, so-and-so has been gone for 6 months. They've been through so many trials and tribulations. Everybody's going to be happy to see them back. Let's give them a title shot. How about you give that title shot to the people that were holding the company up while that person was gone?
Right? And Trek's right. I know you believe me, but I'm saying like it does bring the show down. We're not even able to look at the title, and I get what Moxley's trying to prove. Like, you don't deserve to look at it, but it is devaluing the title by not seeing it week in and week out. People are forgetting that he's even the champion.
He shows up looking like he took a day off boot camp.
Exactly. This character arc is not progressing at all. Remember, initially, the first week, we're like, oh my God, this is not your company. Oh, Shane's taking over because Shane wants actual stake in the company, and he wants to be in full control. And I mentioned that way back then from the same source that told me The Undertaker wouldn't compete at Mania, and I got the shit beaten out of me online because, oh, you're an idiot. Of course Taker's going to compete. And then that was the year he missed entirely, and I was right. I'm not going to say shit that's false. I'm not trying to, say anything that's not confirmed, but my Frito-Lay's guy that filled the chips at WWE headquarters that used to be, he was a great source. He was amazing. And it's now like they don't have the same contract,
but like, it's like you and me, like if we're making a guess, because I don't got any sources for shit. If I make a guess, I'm either saying what I think is going to happen or what I think makes sense. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like, fuck it. Like, there's no point in saying that, oh, we're like a news outlet. We're not.
The last thing I heard, no, we're not. The last thing I had heard is like a really like outstretched rumor was they were going to have Bryan come back and bring Darby back and have him be like elevated, and Sting would even come and like pump him up and be like, hey, look, you need to defend AEW from them. You need to win this title, and that's going to be the main event, and Darby winning the title is going to be like the feel-good moment of Texas. So clip this, and if it happens at Texas, then you can come back. If I'm wrong, then I will owe some severe punishment to everyone in the chat. You guys can decide what you want me to do. I mean, I don't want to shave my eyebrows, but you guys can come up with some sick shit. And if I'm wrong, I promise you in July, I will stick to that deal.
With all due respect to Bryan Danielson and Sting, I would really love to get off of this. Darby Allin has a rotating cast of adopted dads. Like, if he's going to do something, let him do it for himself.
I get it, but I guess they want to because he's doubted himself continually, so they're going to be like, no, ascend them out and do this. You're able to find yourself. You need to, because he got knocked down the stairs and he's been gone since.
Then let the story be the fans got him there.
I agree with you.
He's that guy.
I'm just telling what I heard, my friend. I agree with you entirely.
No, I'm not against you. I'm just saying this is my reaction to that idea.
Stop yelling at me.
Please, Papa
Sting. I got blocked enough this weekend.
Am I good? Please,
my heart
Papa
can't
Sting.
take any more, Spaz.
Please, Papa Brian, am I good? Please, Papa Sting, am I good? No.
While he chokes him with a bag, Brian's just this is just to make me come.
Jesus Christ. Okay, before I lose my train of thought entirely.
Yes, please. I don't want to interrupt you, but
no, that's fine.
Look at my shiny balls.
My thing. Jesus Christ. My thing with MJF, what him doing the babyface stuff did, and what him doing the stuff with Punk did, is even when he was a heel against Punk, he got into the childhood stories of why he's so pissed off. And I used to be picked on for, they lean on the Jewish thing a lot, which is, a little troublesome to some people. But he did the old, I was picked on and I was going to get an autograph with you, and that's why I resent you so much now.
And it was such a great story that they told there leading to that, dog collar match.
But I think he's done a pretty cool thing, MJF, and I think I shouldn't say he started it with Punk, but I started taking more notice of it in the Punk story, and he's done it with a little bit here and there and everywhere, and then obviously we got a lot of it when he was faced for a bit. So now there's that little bit of, God damn it, you asshole. How dare you make us feel bad for you? How dare you plant it in our heads that we know why you are the way you are? So at that point in the match, when he's losing it, when he's desperate, and when he's screaming at Hangman Page, why is it you? Why isn't it me? He's like, how there's a hated heel and a sympathetic babyface normally, right? MJF has cut himself out this little groove where he's an absolute piece of shit, but he's a sympathetic heel.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he's gotten himself there.
But that's what I'm saying. He justifies himself. So when you have Hangman going against him, it's not like the neutral good versus the chaotic evil. You don't even have that, because some of the shit Hangman does, you're like, oh yeah, you are a bastard. The syringe moment, the cinder block, all that shit from him and Swerve. Drinking the blood, there's a lot to it there, and so you didn't know who to cheer for.
The thing with MJF's
it was heel versus heel, basically.
His character is so strong that he doesn't lose any of his heelishness when you see him show desperation and genuine defeat in his voice, because he is kind of admitting, even though he's a heel, he wants the crowd to love him. Even though he pretends to hate them. Why is it you? Why isn't it me? How can it be you? And that is very uniquely MJF.
No, and you're right. I'm going to skip around a little bit too, because one of the things I want to hear what you think here. I don't think Toni Storm should have bled. Now, she cut herself a gusher, and it did add to the match, but it took away because there was blood in the very, two matches from now with Ospreay. And it was all right, we've seen this. It just didn't feel as impactful because of how much Toni was bleeding in that match. It wasn't a bad match by any means either, but I wish there wasn't the blood angle of it, or at least not to the very, very end. But her and Mariah, Toni bled a gusher. Mariah got some, blood at the end. It was good. I mean, you got a "This is awesome" chant, her going nuts with the heel at the end. But some of it was a bit ridiculous. I hated the, oh my God, we're going to cover our hands in tape and get the broken glass. And first off, it was sugar glass. You could tell it was crumbling before they even put it on the tape. Two, you both have the same idea against each other. You both set up champagne, glass in a tub. It wasn't one of you did it. No, both of you had this idea. You were both going to punch each other with broken glass of a champagne bottle. And, I need logic. We're getting it in WWE. I like the barbed wire chair worked. That's why I didn't care about the barbed wire bat, and they used the bat effectively. This didn't make sense. It took me out of it. Why did you both need to tape your hands and foolishly stick it in the broken glass at the exact same time? This was your plan, both of you, all along? You were waiting for the same moment? Come on. Mariah attacking Toni in the first place never made sense. She had the number one contendership won because she won the Owen Hart tournament on the women's side. Why did she turn? She had the title
The
match
initial
set up.
turn, I could explain it away
How?
in a
The
way that
initial
makes
turn
sense.
made no how. It never
In a,
made sense to me. Please.
I could posit this to you, and I'm not saying that this is what they did, but I'm saying like if you told me like how could I make this make sense in my own head?
Yeah.
She's won the Owen tournament. She's got this mentor that she's always looked up to. She's always looked up to. She's always looked up to. Teacher-student relationship, but now she's going for that championship. Because she sees herself as the student and Tony as the teacher, sees herself lower, sees her mentor as higher. She had to do something to prove that she could put a dent in her teacher to make herself feel like they were even in the match. I'm not saying that's the story they were telling. I'm
Yeah.
saying if I wanted to interpret it that kind of way, the reason, and this is where it's going to get
That's a stretch, though, for me. Like, you
it
really have to do
is.
some
I
mental
understand.
gymnastics.
Of
I
course.
understand what you're saying, but it's like, but they didn't even give us any emphasis or
Oh, right. No,
even
this is me
inkling that
applying,
was what they were going for. You're
this
trying
is
to
me
apply
applying
logic
some headcanon to it. That's all it
when
is.
Tony just did it because it was shocking. It was, oh my God, she turned on her best friend. But why? Why? Like the Fletcher thing we get, because everyone's kept saying, you're just Will Ospreay Jr. You look like him, the blonde hair, everything you do, Aussie Open, all of it, you're just hanging on his coattails. So he shaves his head and he fucking comes out and he's like, fuck you, I'm going to be different. I hate you. And that's what made the cage match work. Tony, her friend turned on her, but why? Why did she turn? Why? Where is the hatred stemming from? I never got that feeling ever.
No, and as I say, I'm positing a potential explanation. I'm not saying that they ever did anything to tell that story. Why I give this match a bit of a pass. And this is because these are the two matches that I enjoyed tonight over everything else. You've got people in there that can make it work. The storyline, the mentality, this not otherworldly, but like you've got delusional Tony Storm, who thinks she's living in the 50s, and delusional Mariah May, who at one point was following a woman that thinks she lives in the 50s, right? So it's not, I'm not trying to make like a Marvel reference or anything like that, but this match kind of exists in another universe, kind of outside AEW a little bit. So for it to be similar to another match, it didn't get that samey feeling for me because this match is over on the shelf over here. More to the point, is what I said at the beginning of the pod. It's just you've got four people in these two respective matches that make the excess work. This really, like, they're coming out of Hollywood, these decadent actresses, and we hear stories about actresses and performers and all that all the time that are like super diva, I'm going to do anything to succeed, and really behind the scenes, they were like falling apart, or they had a drug issue, or they had an alcohol issue, or whatever. So the craziness was to be expected, and Tony Storm's put a lot of that into her like 50s actor character. So the two of them being nuts, and obviously you'd have to be nuts to want to learn from somebody who's nuts. So here's two crazy women, and mentor student. It's again, it's a stretch, but like
it is a stretch, and that's the problem.
If you learned,
I wish I had more faith in them being able to do these things, because
if she learned how to be crazy from Tony Storm, wouldn't it be on a symbolic level, not on a literal level, but on a symbolic level, would they maybe not have the same idea for a weapon? I'm not saying that makes it make sense. I'm saying I can believe that it makes sense in their heads.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yep.
And that's the thing, and you're not wrong, and I'm turning the light down, but no, I get your point. It didn't even explain it that way on commentary.
No.
The most they did effectively tonight was say that they didn't feel comfortable around Moxley. JR freaking out, him saying like, "Oh, I don't even want to be near him," was probably the only effective build they had.
And he was the
tonight.
least unstable person. Like John Moxley's unstable and crazy and blah, blah, blah. He was the least unstable person on the show tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he said the ring post broke the other night and they had to cancel their show for New Japan. Yeah, I think people would rather have that happen than Moxley winning again. I heard, yeah, because the ring post actually had so much rust that it broke all the way through.
Oh, no.
So they had to cancel the show entirely. They wanted to do it on gym mats, I guess, and then couldn't, but...
Oh, my. That's...
Yeah, Ricochet...
Okay, let's not be getting hurt here. What I wanted to say, the
Yeah,
going back to
please.
the beginning, because we got the MJF thing, because just when I was about to give it all the credit in the world, the psychology between the two of them, because the other thing that works between the two of them is they're both characters that don't really have a distinct personality right now. They're both kind of trying to find themselves, or at least that's the vibe that I'm getting. MJF is sinking back into his heel character, while
Yeah.
Hangman, if I want to give him credit, he's playing this bad guy that's trying to not be a bad guy anymore, right? And I want to give them credit, specifically Hangman, because I shit on Hangman a lot. The jumping tombstone on the chair on the outside spot was really good. And it would have been amazing if he had remotely acted like he had just been jumped and pile driven onto a chair, rather
Mm.
than springing around the ring after that had all been said and done.
They both did that where they just came out like
Yeah.
even later on Kenny Omega does the kick out at one.
Yeah. Well,
There's
The Kenny
things.
match I have different issues with, although most of it was good.
So the MJF match overall I liked. I didn't care for the straight ending, but he's like, why not me? And
Yeah,
MJF goes for the Heat Seeker, and
they
then he
paused the match,
yeah.
and they're not the best, even though they had a movie madness match later on the card. AEW is not always the best with cinematic stuff, but they let the moment pause and breathe in the middle of the match.
They did. I'll give them credit for
very
that.
Specifically. But the other thing I'll say as well,
Because you saw him like tearful, really
Hmm?
showing emotion,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
he's
that's
having a
when he
breakdown.
gets
He's
the
not
angel
stable.
wings, and
This
he
is
gets
the
hit
other
with the
thing.
buckshot.
He tried to pull the Angels' wings, and this is
Yeah.
not me not blaming anybody. Me just seeing something and
He
saying
hit
what
it.
I
He
see.
hit it on MJF at the
He
end
hit
there.
him, but he hit it with a twist, and MJF landed in a really uncomfortable way. So it is one of those.
It hurt.
I want to believe that you're hurting somebody, but I don't want a moment that's going to pull me out and think, oh shit, he's actually hurt, which is the hypocritical nature of being a wrestling fan. But I looked at that and I was like, and then there was a similar moment. I know it's way later in the card. Ricochet and Swerve, which was again. Am I into the story? No, they're fighting over a jacket. Is that any worse than fighting over a bracelet?
Yeah, because Swerve with that nonsense. I mean,
when Swerve went for the dive though, and he almost missed him, and he managed to catch.
Why did Prince Nana just leave though? He left, because I get he got pushed, like Swerve hit him accidentally, pushed him accidentally, but then he was like, "Oh fuck this, I'm out," and then he came back afterwards and was like, "I got my robe, and I swerve and I drive. I got my robe." Like that was it. He was done. Come on, like why?
I get it.
Make it make sense, Spaz. Please, for the love of God, I got my robe and I swerve when I drive. I got my robe. That's the next big hit. You know it. Like,
you're going to hear me say this a lot.
Hold on, I got my robe and I swerve when I drive. I got my robe. Yeah, sorry, a little too.
You're going to hear me say this a lot. There's a lot of. I need to completely ignore whatever they're doing character-wise, and I need to completely ignore whatever they're doing story-wise to enjoy anything on AEW. It's where I come to the cage match.
The cage match was great up until the end for me. Like I said, I loved it. I loved it so much. They did so many things right, and then they had to have that stupid fucking Australian cunt get involved. Why?
Okay. Here's the thing.
It doesn't even make sense because of what they established beforehand. It makes no sense. Mark Davis does not need to fucking be there.
And this is where I agree with you, and then I have to forget it to enjoy the rest of the match.
Yeah,
because he was in the match for a brief moment.
When he came in initially, that should have been it. When he got taken out, and then the weapons came to play, it was like, all right, they can beat each other with the barbed wire bat, and that's great. But he should have never broken up the pinfall or gotten involved.
No. I'm not defending that. But the initial involvement where he doesn't even get into the ring because he gets the door kicked in his face. He's literally there so that the rest of the match the two of them can have weapons.
Yeah, and I was fine with that if he didn't get involved again.
It's a steel cage match. You can't exactly go to the outside and grab something from under the ring. So they filled a loophole by somebody trying to get involved.
That was fine. I was fine with that because he kept him out. He kicked the door. It sends him flying backwards. Yep. You're a non-entity, but you delivered the goods. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Sayonara. Him sticking around and causing the breakup of the pinfall that would have won the match, and then getting involved. And the fact that so I think my problem mostly is that they keep switching. Some of the time it's like, oh, Don Callis is supporting him and he's making him a better fighter, and that's why he did it. And other times they're like, oh,
It's
Don
because
has
he's
something.
blackmailed.
Yeah, so they don't know which story
okay.
to tell, and they
Go back-
switched back and forth between that multiple times in this match. I don't know what they're doing. Help me, please. Explain it.
Go back to what I said.
Yeah.
The way I can enjoy this is I want to see Ospreay and Fletcher fight in a cage.
Yes.
So I have to ignore what did I say? I have to ignore what they're doing storyline wise. I have to ignore what they're doing character wise.
You have to,
but
that's a lot to ask of the fans. I mean, we got
100%.
Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens kicking the shit out of each other. There was not one moment of that match that was not past any type of like uncanny valley believable nature. Everything was believable. Nothing was unbelievable. Everything worked. They beat the shit out of each other. The barbed wire steel chair was a great addition. The bat in this instance worked too, the way they hit each other with it. He delivered the weapons. Yep. Thank you, see you. He should not have gotten involved further. That really took me out of it. And like you said, he's being blackmailed, but then he's doing it because he wants to be part of the, a bigger part of the fan. Like, what is your? It's baffling. What is your inspiration?
Okay, I'm gonna hit you with the opposite of that in a second, right? Because
don't hit me. My wife does that enough.
The sort of the explainer away is it's a steel cage. There's no disqualification. Anybody can get involved if they want to, right?
I love you, baby.
I'm talking about Don. Oh no. Talking about Don Callis, not necessarily.
No, you're right too, and he was great on commentary, back-to-back matches. But really quick, can we rewind too? Will Hobbs came out during the kickoff show when Big Boom AJ was celebrating. It was like, oh, he's gonna hit him, and then he was like, yeah, I'm celebrating with the boom. We got the boom. So
because the friggin' murder machines came out for no reason.
None of it made sense, right?
No, none of it.
Okay, all right. Sorry, go back to your point with this match. I'm sorry, but
I will say that collection of people made no sense, and then it kind of lingered, like they did it 5 minutes too early.
Everything fell way off. Sorry, go back, but we forgot to bring that up before. I wanted to make sure we went back.
And part of this is going back to 2023 when Forbidden Door was up here and I got to see Omega versus Ospreay, and they did a lot of excess in that match as well, and it was fucking awesome.
Forbidden Door was great though because the excess made sense because it was all a matter of escalation. They one-upped each other, the table, the moment through all of it was great.
But here's the thing. It is, I will fully admit, the match was awesome. And the higher up the scale the match goes, the more I'm willing to throw the very valid things you're saying to the wayside, because I think the match was that good. The Spanish Fly off the edge, off the top of the cage, and then any normal person would say like, okay, Spanish Fly off the top of the cage, and you probably landed on a few thumbtacks as well. That should kill him. But he's like, no, I want to dig it in a little more. So he still hit the hidden blade, and he still hit the. What do you call it? The move that he stopped doing for a while because he almost killed Daniel Bryan.
The Tiger Driver.
Yeah, there we go. And it's like
Tiger Driver. They
established it as something.
And that was a great ending too, no doubt. But that's the thing. Like, okay, he got out of there. He was holding his hip though because the Spanish Fly he did off the cage. Apparently, he fucked his hip up. He landed hard on his hip. I saw.
Apparently.
And now he can't put weight down on his right side. He was holding it and limping on the way out.
Seeing some shit online after that match. Apparently, he fucked up his hip earlier in the match.
Really? And the Spanish Fly made it worse.
Well, kudos to him for continuing, but also we hope he's okay. Both of those things are true.
I don't want him to be injured. Absolutely not. Of course not. Like,
he's
that's not what I'm hoping for.
He's one of the best things they have going in that company right now. No,
absolutely. He should be the face. He should be holding the title, not Moxley, who's forgetting it. Trek messaged me earlier saying, like, why are they so hell-bent on Moxley? Because they just have to do the heat after heat after heat after heat. Why? Because Tony's obsessed with booking like WCW Nitro. Think about how often the NWO just beat down fucking everybody. And then they would build up a challenger and they'd beat him down. Build up a challenger, beat him down. And then, oh my God, episode 100, Lex Luger wins. And then they do nothing. That's going to be what happens. They're going to wait until they can build up Darby. Darby will get the win and then they'll take the title back. I'm telling you right now, clip it, mark it, bada boom. I guarantee you.
Anyways, but
I'm not full of shit there.
Yeah, look at that match, and look at how early in that match he did the rebound cutter off the side of the cage. Early in the match. Apparently,
but when he did it again, that was amazing.
Yeah, when he sort of was on the ropes and then he sort of springboarded
Yes.
off the
The
cage
first
wall.
time you're saying he injured
Yeah,
himself.
yes,
Yes.
off the first one of those is
Like
when
what, 6 minutes in of how long was that match? 30
when he
minutes?
when he landed on the yeah. But then they all gushed and they all got busted open
It
and
was a
they
29-minute match exactly, from bell to
really
bell.
really
No second
nice.
past 29 minutes exactly, according
Yeah.
to Wikipedia. But that second Spanish Fly, he got the holy shit announcement. He hits a Tiger Driver after Fletcher was like, "I hate you, you son of a bitch!" Like, what
Didn't
a
he
great
literally say
ending.
like go ahead and end me at one point?
Yes, he was screaming at him like end me," and he wouldn't do it. And then
Yeah.
that's when he had the barbed wire wrapped around his elbow.
Okay.
There wasn't much that took me out of it. A few of
The
the
one thing I could
kickouts
say
was
they could have
bad, but
done a little less of because they made it weird. Kind of
yeah.
like The Rock touching Cody's face when he did that a little too much. I could do without 10 examples of them licking up each other's blood off of various metal items.
It's like me with my wife on her period. I mean,
Oh,
I dive right into fucking it gets everywhere, but it's worth it. Like fucking the orgasms are. Sorry, I forgot what show we're on. I'm drinking a little too much, but no, honestly, Fletcher killed the role he had to play here. He was the ultimate heel, and then when the pain set in, he couldn't take anymore. And not in
yeah.
a bitch way, like, oh my God, my body can't. He was shaking and writhing, and he's like,
Post match selling
amazing, kicking the
to a T.
mat like he was having a tantrum. I loved it. I love when you make me feel like you're in so much agony you want to die.
Yeah, and do it without
Sell
doing
that,
like
please.
the Brian Danielson seizure spots. We don't need that.
No, but he had thumbtacks all over the front of
Oh
him
yeah,
from the Styles Clash, and he's trying to pick him out, and then every time he does, he's like twitching again and
popped his cherries
shaking.
on the
Oh my God, yeah, his nuts got destroyed.
yeah.
I mean, but it was like I saw this match and I was so blown away. But my first thought was like, okay, what can John and Cope do now?
No, absolutely nothing.
That was the problem
Absolutely
here.
nothing.
Like this should have been the main event, right?
Oh, for sure.
I know the AEW title should lead it, but they should have called this another
No, you
unsanctioned
can.
cage match
There are
because they would have saved themselves a lot of booking here. Will Ospreay getting the big win, the crowd Ospreay at the end,
yeah.
chanting in his book song.
Call it a lights out cage match if you have to.
You get my drift. Absolutely,
Honestly,
my friend.
and I know you said they were too similar. I look at them a bit differently. Have this as the main. Have the ladies match as the semi main. Escalation.
I would have been fine with that. I would have been totally fine with that because what they did at a few points, they did the foregone conclusion matches back to back to back. We had the Momo Watanabe. Yes, the crowd got behind her, but no one believed she was going to win. The only thing we wanted was our money back, not Watanabe.
See, here's the thing with that is I don't know anything about Momo Watanabe at all, so I don't want to talk any kind of shit about her. I think
she's not bad. She's just not
role,
what I enjoy about female wrestling.
I think people are more up for anybody that's not Sasha than they are up for anybody.
That's where they started to cheer her tonight. Yeah. But then we had Okada and Brody King, and you're like, okay, of course Okada's winning. He's holding it till he faces Omega. They already did the face-off at the pay-per-view prior. Mm-hmm. Then we had the tag match right after that, King. And the Outrunners aren't winning.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to say about that match. Bobby Lashley kicked ass. Oh, Shelton Benjamin kicked ass. MVP really was kind of like a non-entity. It was a short match. It was like 9 minutes, 8 minutes, something like that.
Here's the thing, right?
It was what it was, right?
But
back to back, you had two foregone conclusion matches with Okada and the Hurt Business. So
AEW is known, and it's a little bit of hotshot booking, etc. Typically, they've got one surprise per show, right? And it was heavily rumored that the Bucks were coming back. Now we know what I think of the Bucks, but let's put that on the shelf for a second, right? You and I have talked a lot very recently on NXT,
and they're still the New Japan Tag Champs as well.
Okay.
Don't forget.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I believe so. I want to double check that, but yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So here's what I'm saying. The murmurings were that the Bucks were coming back tonight. Now you and I have talked a lot on NXT recently about how like there sometimes there's a filler person This person is out in the match just to be the other person in the ring because this big star is about to be confronted by this person. So they're here. They're not really there to be there. They're there so that that person can have a match, so that they can have the confrontation with the other person, right? And a lot of people would have thought,
no, they're not champs anymore either. They lost to
okay,
Naito and Takahashi, ending their
right,
37-day reign. That was
okay,
on New Beginning. I didn't watch that show, so that makes sense why.
okay,
All right, that was in the
but
beginning of
yeah,
February. But still, they had the
but
titles.
very
It was like,
recently,
why do you have to be the champs?
exactly, very
Unless they're
recent.
coming back.
Okay,
So I thought you were right.
I I thought I was right too, because I typically do. But very recently on NXT, you had I think it was Carmen Petrovic, and
Yes.
she was the first challenger to Stephanie Vacour. I don't think anybody really thought Stephanie Vacour was going to lose her title in her first defense. Carmen Petrovic was very much just the other person in the ring so that she could have a match, so that she could be confronted by Julia afterwards, right? Now,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not wild about the Bucks, but some people are. And so the idea that, okay, they're going to come in, they're going to make quick work of the Outrunners. That's why the Outrunners are in this spot, and then the Bucks are going to show up. And it's like the Bucks never came. So people that
The
want to see
girls never came.
the Bucks,
I'm
no, but
sorry,
the
but I'm
Bucks
like,
never came.
the girls never came.
So the Bucks weren't there. The people that want to see the Bucks were
Yeah.
disappointed, and it kind of obliterates the Outrunners' entire reason for being there, because not to shit on them, they're a fun act and whatever, but they're not getting a legitimate run at the titles, especially with who's holding them right now. So I think
Super kick party.
it was very
It
much
didn't
a
work. They were
they
stuck in 2013.
didn't
Am
read
I
they didn't
wrong?
yeah, that's
They
true.
have not evolved since then. Since the
But they
BTE
didn't.
era, like
No,
2014, the Max, they have not evolved since the Bullet Club days. They've
no,
been the Young Bucks
absolutely.
of that time without ever changing at all. Heel face, yeah, but they've not changed their persona at all whatsoever.
Yeah, but it doesn't change that the elite cult that want to see them, right? So I'm at least trying to see it from their point of view. If they're not going to be there, then there's no reason for the match to happen, which means there's no reason for the Outrunners to be on the card, which sucks to say because, like I say, the Outrunners are a fun little act and whatever, but it made the whole thing
Predator
pointless.
badasses, yeah. Turbo Floyd. They had a stupid interview with them earlier talking about like, oh, Turbo or Truth Magnum. Is it because are you named after a condom? He's like, what's a condom? Like, oh, because he's from the
Oh,
'80s. He didn't know what condom. Like, but it was so
oh
stupid. It
dear.
just was like, come on, really, come on.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
Oh dear.
exactly. Like just unnecessary. Tony and Mariah. Tony had a gusher. It was a solid match. It was 13 minutes long. Surprisingly, I thought we'd get a little bit more, but they brought out the glass.
I saw
I hated
something
that part
online.
really, and
I
after
saw
that,
something
it just
online that
took
I
me out
thought
of it.
was hysterical, and it's like the Outrunners getting a proper AEW Tag Team World Title shot is about as out of place as a pharmacist handing out condoms at Schindler's List.
Right?
Like that's fucking terrible.
All right, you got me with that one. Oh God!
It made me think of the old
Here's a
Seinfeld.
little birth control to go with your cyanide. Sorry, folks. Oh God!
It made me think of the Seinfeld thing. You were making out during Schindler's List.
Yeah, that's your movie of choice. Oh God!
Oh
So when
goddamn.
I knew Kenny was going to go ahead and capture the AEW International title, again that word
Yeah,
foregone conclusion. It was a good match.
exactly.
Takeshita is excellent at what he does. Don Callis put him over the entire time. I liked the match. It was just a bit too long for my liking. When we got really into the end of it, it was like,
Yeah.
all right, kick out, kick out, kick out, fight forever. I'm like, no, let's not.
Okay.
Let's end this.
Good match for the most part. I like Takeshita. I like Takeshita more for what he did over at Maple Leaf Pro, but that's another story for another day. I
Exactly.
got two problems
Okay.
with this match, and it's not either of their faults. You've got multiple no DQ matches on this card, so do you not want to counter that or sort of underscore how no DQ and crazy those matches are by having the matches that are regular matches be treated like regular matches?
Yeah, because we really had a lot
There was
of
all the interferences and all the weapons and all the nobody getting counted outs.
yeah, there was a lot in this too. I mean, really, they pushed the bounds here. Takeshita going like above and beyond, and then they're doing the stabs to the side, and it was like, all right.
Well, they did the
Same thing
cool
with the
spot
with
they
the
did
screwdriver in the match when they
Yeah.
got it up top with Ospreay.
Yeah.
Oh, we stabbed him in the side, we stabbed him in the head. It's like, come on, he's dead. Like
They did the cool thing with the sideways table that works for the story that they're telling, but that leads into my other kind of issue with the match, and it's something that I hope they don't do with Kenny Omega too much. Don't make the entire rest of his career about his diverticulitis.
Yeah, I hope they don't focus on. Oh my God, his
Oh my God,
sternum
he
can
got
be a
punched in
real
the gut.
weapon.
He got
Yeah,
punched in
like
the gut. Because it's like
you don't need
what
that.
they-
That's his kryptonite, but it's such an easily accessible thing for people to attack that it's going to become a problem if that's always a focal point of theirs. That's why I liked Ospreay and Fletcher, because they had so much to prove here. I was fine with the initial Mark Davis interference. The second one got me, but I will say the main event sucked, and I hate saying that. I loved hearing the crowd sing Edge's theme again.
Yep.
I can't call him Cope. I can't.
Nope.
It pains me. You
Did
were
you hear
there
that-
to see his last match. You saw his last match in WWE
Did you
against
hear
Sheamus
that
on
Tony
SmackDown.
Khan? Did you
I
hear
saw
that
him
Tony Khan is
retire.
opening
I
up a new
can't.
amusement
I
park?
can't call him Cope. Is he?
Tony Khan's opening a new amusement park.
What's that?
It's called Adams Copeland.
And I believe it too, because he wants everybody to be on board. That's the Cope. But everybody knew, again, foregone conclusion, Moxley's going to beat you here, and this dragged on. They were so focused on getting heat for so long and just beating down Copeland, beating down Edge. And then, it's just the Bulldog choke. Oh, he's going to fade. But, then people start chanting his name. He's going to come back. And then, he broke the hold. But Moxley,
Moxley at one
gets
point
it again.
sold
It was
an
like,
impaler really weirdly. It looked like he curled himself up. And
yeah, like he was like refusing to sell it
Yeah.
in a way. He was
Kind of.
just all over the place. And then
And I
Wheeler
don't
Yuta
wanna-
comes
I don't want it
out.
to come off like
No
I'm
one
shitting
gave
on the
a
guy.
shit.
Everybody can have one bad sell or one bad moment. But this,
No, I agree. But
nothing that here's the problem with it though. And somebody, I think it was KJ, was saying like, put this in the middle of the card and then have the other cool shit afterwards. And like, this could be a cool, understandable, okay, they're still fucking around with the story a little bit. It's not great, but we got more to look forward to.
yeah, like
This-
Liz said,
this
nope.
died.
That's a Cope. It's nope. And
This
it has
died
to be Edge.
because it wasn't a wonderful match. Don't get me wrong. But this died because it was the last match.
Yeah. Oh no,
died
certainly
because
it
of
should
the
not
last
have been the main event spot, because people were so expended from the Ospreay match and all of the false finishes in that. Egregious or not, like they
after
packed it in as tight as they could.
Pause. Like it was so.
You got me
like,
tonight.
I don't want to say that they were slow, because they were just wrestling a different type of match. So that kind of comparison isn't really fair. But by the time we got to this match, compared to everything else we'd seen, even the matches that had flaws in them, like Omega's match, like Swerve's match, that had good things to them and stylistic things to them. And then obviously you had the ladies match that I liked, and the cage match that I really liked. And even the opener, they managed to have me liking a Hangman match until Hangman had to Hangman at the end. And after all that,
I wish he didn't get the win. I wish MJF got the win as predicted.
yeah,
but like you said,
obviously.
there were moments tonight that I enjoyed. I enjoyed a few things here. The Tony Storm match was really good, and so was the Fletcher and Will Ospreay match. The Moxley match should not have main evented. It should not have come where it was. It died because of not just the placement, but the lack of story, and everyone knows that Edge wasn't going to win.
Yeah, the end was a fucking cop out. But even before the end, do you know what this match was guilty of being more than anything else?
What's that?
It was guilty of being so painfully normal.
Oh, okay. Well, that's boring to me, because there was just nothing to it. It was holds. It was rest holds. It was, oh my God, we're going to try and roll you up. And then, you got an impaler, but now we're going into more rest holds. And instead of people like cheering, you were getting like golf claps. Like people were just like, all right, come on, end this.
Okay,
It
the
dragged.
whole
It really
idea.
dragged. The fans were not into it past several minutes in because of how shit poor they told the story here.
Do you know what they could have done? And this wouldn't have been perfect, right? But
Anything?
if you go like the whole if you're not last, you want to be first thing, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Start the show with this, right? Do some fuckery, whatever. Have Mox retain, have Christian loses clipboard. Maybe you could even tell a story throughout the rest of the night where Christian and Edge are sort of chasing each other around the back, whatever. Do a little bit of prolonged stuff there.
Yeah.
You could still have the Ricochet Swerve match later on. Have Moxley be the one that attacks Swerve and not the other way around, considering Swerve's supposed to be the babyface.
Yep.
He can come off like a bastard. And
I was going to
be a
say that as
better
well because Swerve attacking makes no sense. He's the babyface, but he's like, I'm going to fuck you up just because now I'm the number one contender. I didn't care about you ruining the company beforehand, but now that I have a shot at the belt, now I'll fuck you up. It's a very weird story to tell. I agree with what you said. Have Moxley attack him. You do it in reverse, and it should have opened because you could have MJF be second. With all the shit they pulled, Moxley retaining first and then telling a story later on makes much more sense. It's much more palatable. And you see people being upset with the way
I got
it
to
was.
shout out Liz for a second, who just put a link to the Travis Scott shirt on WWE.com. And no, I will not be buying that either because it looks terrible. That is an AEW level T-shirt if I've ever seen one.
Wrestling is real. Wow, that is
with a musician and 2 actors.
That is bad.
Anyways, I'm gonna say I think that's about it.
Maybe you should. Blown out eardrum. Is that not a better shirt, Spaz?
Oh my god.
Spaz, anyways, I know you're exhausted. Where can they find you, my friend?
Spaz Phoenix podcast. Anywhere you look for stuff, and Spaz Phoenix everywhere you talk about stuff. This has been fun. The show was not without its high points. I got some surprising high points out of people that I wasn't expecting high points from. But then AEW went and AEW'd. I will see you later, my friend. Have a good rest of the show. Whoever else is joining you,
appreciate you being here as always. Thank you so much, Spaz. Have a great night. Thank you, my friend. Cheers, my friend. We've had some great chats throughout the night. I'll go ahead and we'll call Cody in a minute. Get him try and be connected. Actually, I think he might have to call me. We'll see what happens, but I'll try it in a minute. We'll see if we get him connected here. But don't mind the little Skype beeps. We'll see what happens. If not, we'll figure it out. We'll make it work in a minute. I know I'm not really giving him much notice, so we'll let him get a heads up whenever he's ready. But I agree with Spaz. Sadly, this night could have been so much more. Had they placed the Moxley match first, it probably would have been probably a bit more palatable. People would have been able to enjoy it. It would have been able, in the sense of like, all right, he's still champ, but now we get to look forward to Swerve as we're Swerve attacking. You're supposed to leave on a high note, but it doesn't really make that much sense for a face to be attacking the heels when he hasn't cared at all what the heels have done up until this point. It's just not great. I'm unfortunately trying to, it's just constantly I'm trying to refrain from being bitter, but it was a bad main event. It really was. It left a lot to be desired. It was very slow. It made Edge look very weak here. Seeing Cope in this state is just not fun at all. And I wish that it was better. I really do. I wish that we could have gotten something more exciting here because they wasted the cash-in of Christian Cage, the triple threat there. It could have been so much more. This triple threat could have been something exciting because we got this great ref bump. And then all of a sudden, Edge take the world's worst bump in the world for a paradigm shift. I mean, it was bad. He looked like he just collapsed. And then Moxley goes ahead, gets a chair underneath. Now he's going to concerto him. And then all of a sudden, he kicks a chair back, and that's when Wheeler Yuta comes out. And just as he's about to, hand over the briefcase to Moxley, Jay White comes out. He gets involved, and they brawl, and they're killing each other. And then they brawl to the back. And now it's back just again to Moxley and Edge Cope. The referee returns and makes a super slow count, and that's another near fall but just not enough. We go ahead and we see them, really go ahead and try to take each other on, but just not a great moment. It looks sloppy. I'm sorry, it did. Now Christian runs out and he uses the signed contract to make it a triple threat. Christian spears Cope and he gets a good near fall, but no one thought he was going to win. And then we go ahead and we get and we went ahead and we saw quite a bit. Sorry, I'm trying to get him to add on Skype here. There we go. I think we finally got it. A little bit of an impromptu way we stream. But Cody, can you hear me?
How we doing?
There we go, bud. Sounding sexy as ever. We got you live and in the house. There we go. Yeah, I was very disappointed with this because Moxley just goes ahead. He pulls Christian away at the 2 count, and then he gets the bulldog choke, and the ref calls for the bell, and you're like, well, that's it. Now Christian lost his triple threat, his cash in, and he grabs the briefcase, and he gets out of the ring, and he exits to the crowd, and that's when we get the swerve attack. But even with Nana coming out to be the distraction, Nana left in the middle of the match like he was pissed off at Swerve because Swerve accidentally pushed him down and kind of was like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was you. And then he comes back to grab the robe and he's like, everything's good, I can dance. I swerved when I drive. So I don't know how you felt, but I was confused as all hell.
I don't know why people said on Twitter, I've seen a lot, saying that was a wasted cash-in.
Absolutely. I feel that way.
I think so too. I don't understand the ending whatsoever. I don't think this should have even been the main event because one bad match can kill the vibe of the show, and especially if it's the match that went on last.
Am I crazy here for feeling like if they were going to do the cash-in, then they should have had Edge win through some nefarious means, and then when Cope wins, then Christian takes the belt from him, and then Moxley can just get the belt back in a few days, but make it feel like, oh God, there's a shakeup, things can change, things can happen, get rid of that foregone conclusion mindset. I mean, again, we're getting with WWE, but WWE's been changing titles every now and again. We're getting new champs here and there. We're seeing titles change. I want to see these type of things happen more often because I don't want it to just be once a year. Oh, we got to wait all the way until WrestleMania. We got to wait all the way until All In. We've got to wait. I don't want to see these things. I want them to go ahead and have us truly believe, hey, we have a title match tonight. Somebody could win that you're not expecting. That's what I loved about the Attitude Era. You tuned in every week, and it was like, oh, Stone Cold, he is going to fuck up Shane and Vince. No problem. And somebody's fucking with the briefcase. You know what I'm saying? It's just like there's things there that happen and c'est la vie, but I'm excited to see what we get out of it. I don't feel like that with AEW right now. I'm not excited to see what comes next. I'm tired of Moxley beating everybody. Who's the next challenger? Swerve? He's going to lose because they're going to just fade through that, right? I don't know.
AEW is too afraid to have a shock value on their system because WWE has done it recently with Io Sky. She just won on Monday Night Raw last week against Rhea Ripley. No, thought that happened. Everyone thought it would have been a fuck finish of some sort.
Everybody thought that was a foregone conclusion. Again, that word I keep bringing up, but it's true. No one had bet on Io Sky. Everyone was like, oh, so it's Bianca versus Rhea at Mania. They're just going to do this match, tie up all loose ends, and oh my God, they changed it, and now Bianca's not a heel. That was some of the worst acting between her and Naomi. You and I will talk about that this Tuesday when you come back from WWE Raw live at Madison Square Garden. We'll get your take from being there live in person. Going to be a hell of a show this Tuesday. But yeah, my friend, what are your major takeaways from tonight? Please, I'll give you the floor.
I thought a lot of the matches were good, but like me and you were discussing on Messenger earlier about false finishes. I think the Styles Clash through the thumbtacks, I agree with you on. Like, that should have just ended the match. You don't kick out about something like that. Especially
when you beat him with it before, and now you're doing it in such a way that it's like, well, what is it going to take me to beat anyone going forward? How if they're kicking out of this, am I going to have to decapitate them in the ring? Do I have to murder them to get a pinfall now? I mean, that's the way they made it feel for some of these things. Especially, I mean, the Osprey match, the hatred, maybe you could say, fueled those two, and that was their determination and their reason to kick out and keep going. But I hate, like, the Omega kick out at 1. Usually you get excited about that. Tonight it felt kind of like undeserved in a way. Like it was just like, oh, I'm going to do this to get a pop, not because it makes sense in the match. And he got his comeback eventually, but that wasn't really, I felt, the spot for it. There were a few times tonight it just took me out of it. And the main event, I felt bad for these guys. One, they came out of the Osprey Amazing Cage match, so the crowd was dead from so many reactions from that. All the near falls and false finishes.
Surprised with how crazy the match was. The crowd wasn't that alive for it.
They were raucous, but only at certain points. Like you said, only when big things happened. You know, when you saw them do the Spanish Fly, when you saw them get these quick finishes and near falls, the fans got into it. But still, it was like they had nothing left for the main event by the time they got there. Sadly,
I missed the first. Was that MJF versus Adam Hangman Page?
Yeah, that was the opener tonight, and it was solid. It was good. You know, they did what they had to, but I really didn't care for the ending. They made it seem like Hangman was a superhero that just couldn't be damaged at all towards the end there. I mean, MJF is having this mental freak out, and he's selling it great as he's basically crying, and then he goes for the Heat Seeker, but all of a sudden, you know, Page kind of climbs through the ropes, and then he hits the Deadeye, and then he hits Angel Wings, and then he hits another buckshot lariat, and he gets the pin. It's like, oh my God, you just destroyed him. And I'm like, this is what should have happened years ago with Hangman. He should have been supported like this when he was going for the title and when he was, you know, having the title. Instead, we get this now, and it's why? He wasn't really the good guy coming in here. There was like heel versus heel, essentially. So at least the story would have progressed, I feel, further with MJF winning. Now it's kind of null and void. He beat MJF. Now he's got to move on. And move on to who? Maybe I'm missing something, but not a lot of context clues there for me.
Well, I think maybe this is a hot take. I think MJF has ran his course in AEW. I don't know. I think he would have been better off signing with WWE. I know people will say I'm biased, but
no, I don't think you're wrong, because the problem was they tried to, without changing much of his character, they were like, oh, you're going to cheer him now, you're going to like him because he's our scumbag, he's our asshole. He may be a dick, but he's our dick. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, no, Adam Cole is the devil, MJF's the good guy. Then they swapped it. He came back as a heel, and it was like, well, why are we booing you when we were just cheering you for the exact same reasons we're supposed to boo you? The dichotomy between the two wasn't there. There was no reason to boo him because those were the reasons we were cheering him. You were acting like the same scumbag, throwing drinks in fans' faces. We're like, oh, my God, you're so cool. Now we're supposed to hate you and boo you, and it's like, oh, now you're a scumbag, but we liked it when you did it before. So they ruined him with the booking. They returned him as a heel. MJF should have been a face, and Adam Cole should have been the heel until they finished that feud. Then they could have swapped, but without any justification with it, it just didn't make sense. And like Liz said, the steel cage should have been the main event. I agree entirely. I don't know how you feel, but
100%, I agree.
You have any thoughts on the Mercedes match? That was one that really didn't stand out for me. There was nothing in this match, and they even got a "This is awesome" chant I felt was undeserved, but I'm not trying to hate on Mercedes, but Momo Watanabe never stood a chance. That's why I was making the joke, everybody, all we want is our money back. It just went on for fucking ever.
I used to like her as Sasha Banks, but her as Mercedes, like, she hasn't interested me at all, and I don't know. Nothing of hers intrigues me.
The politicking rumors, the way she handles and conducts herself, it just leaves a lot to be desired. And then we hear about, like, oh, that was great work, you know. But the crowd never once, ever, I feel like, bit at the chance of her losing the TBS championship. No one believed in Momo. Even when they chanted for her at times, they still never cheered like, oh, she has a chance. We're just trying to have fun. I want people to have fun, but there was no payoff here. Like, oh, good, she retains again. So now who does she face? It just felt lazy and very contrived and undeserved.
This just goes to show, like, I think Tony Khan is afraid to push the trigger sometimes with some of these talents, because Mercedes Moné and John Moxley are two of his top talent. I don't think he likes them losing much, so he won't do anything that will shock people like WWE does.
And those are the two people that supposedly have creative control as well. So that's really the kick in the teeth when you think about it. But we got Swerve and Ricochet. Solid match here. I didn't feel like this was long at all. As where the previous match was 20 minutes, it felt like 40. This was 18 and it felt like 10. They kept a really good competitive pace. The only thing that took me out of the match at all was Nana walking away, then immediately coming back and like, yeah, I got my robe after I told you to go fuck yourself. It was a very weird, structured turn, if you want to call it that. But all in all, I wish they didn't cut to Leslie Jones so much. This sounds terrible. Not that, to pick on the lady. She got bullied a lot for her Ghostbusters role. Unfortunately, wasn't deserved, but she's also been a very large, outspoken cunt. And for her to be focused so much on, it's like, oh, WWE has celebrities in the audience all the time. Look who we got. We got, Timu Travis Scott, a.k.a. Leslie Jones.
I can relate knowing some cunts around.
Yeah, Timu Travis Scott is definitely Leslie Jones. But she was wiping away the sweat and making it like, oh, my God, I'm so enthralled by this match. I'm going to die. And they had some good near falls, but then again, I feel like Swerve also is just exceptional, and Ricochet is trying to catch up. He's not bad as a heel. He tells a good story, but he's just not at the level of like a main eventer heel. He's like mid-card heel for me still. He's a geek that wins, but he's still a fucking geek.
I agree. I don't know. I haven't liked Ricochet in AEW much with his acting skills, but he's gotten better on the mic recently. I'll give him that. But
yeah, I mean,
I think Swerve just outshines him. They look like they don't belong in the ring together. Ricochet is a good in-ring wrestler, yes, but I don't think he should be in a ring with Swerve, because he's mid-card. Swerve's main event level to me.
Yeah, certainly. It's backwards at the time, and I agree with Danielson. He's like, I enjoyed the show, but the main event sucked, and that's what you always take away from it. That's what you look back on. We're looking back on the turn of John Cena recently, like that sticks out. Here, they could have had something very impactful with Ospreay, and instead they just failed to capitalize on it. They fed Brody King to Okada. Obviously, got the Rainmaker. The match was fine, but we just came back again. We're heading into the tag match where we know the Outrunners are going to lose to the Hurt Syndicate. The fans are chanting, "We hurt people." They're heels. They're being cheered as faces. It's already bizarre. The Outrunners are supposed to be the good guys, but they're being slightly booed because of how likable the Hurt Syndicate is. And it was like less than a 10-minute match. It's fine for what it was, but it just was like, hey, they never changed pace. It was slow. It was plodding. It was just very bland house show basic. I mean, it was like, oh, we got multiple suplexes in the middle, and then that was kind of it. They broke up the pin at the end, but, he got the high knee in the corner, and then Lashley gets the big spear, and he pins him, and it was like, all right, he beats Magnum, and that's it. It was even like 9 minutes.
Where it was too predictable, and I don't think the Outrunners stood a chance against the Hurt Syndicate.
No, certainly not. Tony and Mariah was good. We said they lost a bunch of blood. What did you think about that match?
Oh, I love that match. You can make an argument that could have been the main event as well.
Certainly. These two killed each other, and I wish they wouldn't have bled if we were going to get blood in the Ospreay match, but vice versa. This match also called for it. So if they separated them better, had this been like the second match, and then the Ospreay match been the main event, I think it would have been better perceived. But the blood being almost back to back, it was only one match in between. It took away from it a little bit, I feel like, because it was like, oh, we just saw fucking Tony having a gusher on her forehead. It was like the time of her month came out of her eye socket. She was just bleeding all over the place from her forehead. God damn. And then Mariah eventually got busted open when she hit her with the high heel. This is Awesome Chance breaking out. It was a good match, but it was also short. But it was a gory visceral type of short, in the sense of like, oh, I'm going to finish you, I'm going to kill you. She hit her 1,000 times with the heel. Just very, very violent, but in a positive way, in the sense of like, hey, I want to finish this feud. I'm going to make it finite. You're dead to me. Literally, figuratively, spiritually, emotionally, any other Lee that you could think of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's another one.
Please, give me your takeaways.
I think AEW with blood, like this match, I agree with you. Maybe they shouldn't have been busted open because we had matches like that already. But they do it too much because Jon Moxley, look at him,
No doubt.
They do it too much where the visual of blood just doesn't mean anything on AEW television. I just don't think, because I think blood, when you get busted open, it's supposed to be a cool factor. But AEW makes it like almost every match someone's bleeding nowadays, and
yeah, you're not wrong, and it's just overplayed. So when we do see blood in WWE, like the Kevin Owens match, we didn't see blood, but it's because Cody was going to bleed later. Imagine if Cody didn't bleed in that segment, even knowing the injury he got, the blood was the payoff because it was so effective and effervescent in a way, like it was so bright and vivid and just jumped off of the screen, that bright red blood coming down Cody's face again, just like when The Rock beat him outside. It was just like history repeating itself, just like being told you're full of shit. History has a way of repeating itself, and I simply was happy with the finish here. It was a good conclusion. I'm kind of like a little trepid about what's coming next. I am anxious about what do we see from Tony going forward. Who does she have to face? Camille would have been a great heel had they capitalized on the booking. They did mention Queen of the Ring tonight. They had some of the actresses in the crowd, and they gave some of the worst interviews ever, saying things like, oh, I love wrestling because you get to know who wins ahead of time. Like,
I fucking hated that. What a fucking crap.
What a terrible interview. And everybody else has gotten this great press and promotion for Queen of the Ring, and then AEW comes along and just fucks it up. They screwed the pooch on this one. I mean, Camille is one of the main actresses in the movie, and they've done nothing to promote her since getting fired by Sasha Skanks, and, Mercedes kicked her away. I quit. No, I was going to fire you. Nothing. No rematch, no fight, no feud, nothing.
Didn't they have a women's match on Dynamite that promoted like the Queen of the Ring thing? And
barely.
Not like any of the women in the match besides what, like two of them that were actually a part of the.
Yeah, that was it.
Movie.
So.
Yeah,
what a waste.
I don't understand.
What a waste indeed. And then, of course, we got Takeshita with Kenny Omega. We pretty much covered that, but what were your thoughts about this match? Anything that stands out?
I liked it. You can never go wrong with a Kenny Omega match, Kenny Omega is one of the best wrestlers in the world, in my opinion. So
yeah, Kenny certainly lived up to his namesake here. The Blue Thunder Bomb that he took was a great near fall. And then once Omega get up, he got drilled with like another kick, and he still was able to kick out from the turnbuckle hit. Like there was moments where it was like, oh shit, Kenny's like a Terminator. There were other points where I was like, damn, it's not a slow pace, but it's dragging. There's too many kickouts. It was almost a 30-minute match, and I think they could have cut at least 5 minutes off of it, maybe 6.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's an issue with AEW pay-per-views. They drag on way too long. I don't like.
I mean, they had 9 matches. We've been spoiled, used to 5. We got this at 8. It didn't end till, past midnight, essentially. And, for as long as we've been live, it's been about an hour and 22 minutes. So you figure, yeah, close enough. They ended at like 12:10, 12 midnight. That's a long show. That's 4+ hours, plus the 2-hour or hour and a half pre-show. I enjoyed the Omega match, but never once did I feel like he wasn't going over. I would have bet one of my kidneys on the fact that he was going to get the title, because the rumor was they're going to merge this going forward. So I'm happy to see what comes of it, but it still left a little bit to be desired just with the length and how they set up a few things. We discussed the cage match. But really, the only thing after that was the main event, Copeland and Moxley. What were your takeaways, my friend?
I did not like the match whatsoever.
Yeah.
I just hated it. I would be too negative on this match. I just think this match was a stinker. I think they should have just opened up the show, honestly, because, like you said, this was a good show. But what's everyone gonna remember and talk about? The main event went on. What went on last? And
yeah, and it left a sour taste in people's mouth again. How many times have they gone to get heat on? Oh, we're beating down the baby faces. We're destroying the baby faces. Then we're escaping. We're running away. How many times has Moxley gotten away now? We don't know his motivation. We don't know why he's doing, what he's trying to achieve, what he's trying to inspire or at least get out of other people. He said he wanted to elevate the divisions and make people. What have you done besides destroy baby faces and rinse and repeat?
I don't understand the storyline whatsoever. I've never gotten it. And I watch mostly on a weekly basis, and I still don't understand it. And now AEW diehards tell me you have to do more research, look it up, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you would hope so, but even still, there's not enough context clues. They give you these truck promos, and you're supposed to understand, hey, no, but it's the read between the lines, and it's all up to interpretation. So really, what they're trying to achieve doesn't work. The Death Rider story continues, like Gorilla Strong said, and that should have been on the pre-show. I don't doubt it. I mean, really, I would have had them. What happened to the trios titles that they're not defending?
I forgot about those.
They've had those things held hostage on Guantanamo Bay for months now. They defended them one time, and that's been it. They shouldn't even have trios titles. It never should have been a thing. They had all these. Anybody that was involved in trios should have just been, oh, you're a tag team. You're a tag team. They could have had the best tag team division ever with 10 teams always fighting for number one contendership and titles, and stats matter, so wins and losses matter. But instead, they tried to make it into multiple divisions. They split everybody apart, and there was no one left to face. You had a best of 7 match, the Elite versus the Lucha Bros and the Death Triangle with Pac, and then it turned into, oh, we're going to face the House of Black, and then they held it forever with silly rules because they faced the Acclaimed with Daddy Ass repeatedly. There was no one else. Them and the Bang Bang Bullet Gang. That was it.
I never understood the concept of the trios titles. I think it's just a stupid title.
It worked in ROH for a little while because they actually fleshed out the trios division, and they were having people come out in threes like a Shield unit.
Right.
And it was like, all right, there's enough factions here where even if you have 4 or more, you could still cut it down to 3. It worked really well in Ring of Honor 2017 to 2019, maybe. Don't quote me. I'm a little tipsy, but
I think that's
around that.
Right. And so AEW wanted to adopt the idea, and I don't think it worked as good for them. Just because it works for someone else doesn't mean it's going to work good for you.
Yeah, and, exactly. He said he's out of the loop with AEW. Gorilla Strong is, but we know that the world title is being held hostage, and it feels that way. We're not seeing it. That's something you need to see, right?
The physical championship should be there. Imagine if Cody Rhodes just came out every week without the WWE championship as WWE champion.
That was the whole point of him finishing the story. If he didn't win the title, it didn't matter. If he beat Roman, all well and good, but if he didn't win the title, the story was him finally getting the actual title win at the main event of the Ultimate Show of the Year in memory of his father. That was to finish the story. It wouldn't have been, hey, I beat him, but I didn't get a title out of it. It wouldn't have mattered. The title was stolen from his dad in the garden. That's the creation of the dusty finish. There was a reason as to why the story, as much as it was a little bit convoluted and probably shouldn't have been Cody, we always said it should have been main event Jey Uso, and I still stand by that with Spaz. Regardless, family or not, Cody worked because he said he wanted to finish the story. It was a multi-year event. He failed the first time after making a triumphant comeback the year before, being the opposition for 2 or almost 3 years. Cody did a lot to raise the stakes in his name. But later on, like Coot said, you're trying to break glass over each other with tape on your hands. You both had the same idea. You both had the same mindset. This is what you're going to do. It just looks foolish. Did you call each other before the match and plan, hey, we're going to tape our hands and dip it into a bucket with broken champagne glass, and that's what's going to be our weapon? It was foolish. The blade job was noticeable. I wish that spot didn't happen, and it would have been much more enjoyable.
it made it. See, some stuff that they do just is cringy. Stuff like that you just mentioned. I don't understand why you have to go and do stuff like that because it just looks too choreographed or whatever. I don't like that kind of stuff. And
I'm
again,
trying to see if there's any news at this point, and basically it just says massive title change, talking about Omega. Christian Cage fails to world title cash-in at AEW Revolution, and the Hurt Syndicate dispatch Outrunners. So basically it's just results at this point in time. We'll hopefully hear a bit more with the press conference, but what are your thoughts overall that we haven't addressed? Please let me know. What are you thinking, Cody?
That we haven't covered, we pretty much covered the whole show again with the
well, anything
AEW.
you haven't been able to say or comment on it is what I'm saying. What are some other thoughts you have about the show tonight?
I just hope that they with the good matches they had, they can follow through on your weekly Dynamite and Collision shows, because a lot of that isn't based. They don't tell stories on their weekly shows. They just don't, and it gets me. Sure, they're AEW pay-per-views. Sure, they're great, but what is the meaning of each match if you're not going to follow through?
How many dream matches can you get excited for? You're absolutely onto something, and that's the thing here too. Like, who would you think Jon Moxley faces next besides Swerve? Like, past Swerve, is it going to be Hangman? Hangman's still this like pseudo face, even though he's really a heel? He just retired Daniels, and now they're supposed to be friends after he broke his neck and kept him from getting back in the ring. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's so bizarre, so convoluted. So we get these like weird announcements and proclamations. People are not where they should be, but I don't know. Who would you have him face next as far as Moxley goes besides Swerve? Who does Moxley face next for the title?
That really is a good question. I'm trying to think. I guess Hangman could work, but
it would take a lot to rehab him more as a face and really try to have him represent the company. I mean, I'm surprised we haven't gotten the Young Bucks to return yet. They were shredding papers and taking off, and we saw no advancement in that story either. A lot of things are just forgotten about or null and void and changed. We saw, Jack Perry lose the TNT title, and then we saw nothing from the Scapegoat since. Literally nothing. He's not injured. He's not hurt. He's just not being used. Oh, we can use him in ROH. No, there's nothing on Dynamite you can use him for with the Scapegoat storyline. You aired the CM Punk footage to make him more of a credible heel, and instead it did nothing but hurt your ratings. I mean,
airing that Jack Perry looked like a bitch.
He did, right?
He got bitched around by CM Punk, and I always laugh at that. I don't think Tony Khan likes me because I was making fun of him with the "My Life Was in Danger" thing, and
and that's unfortunate, but really my main takeaway, I can give this night like a 7.5, even an 8 out of 10, because some of the matches that were good were great. They were exciting. I have small like criticisms or discrepancies or wishes basically that it didn't happen. They take things a little too far as finishers and kickouts. We were just complaining the other day about Cody Rhodes needing 3 crossroads to finish someone, and not just at Mania for Roman Reigns, but every pay-per-view. Oh, I got to give you 3 of them now instead of So finishers are kicked out of all the time. They're weakened. They're diminished. The value is severely impacted. I would love to see those be more effective, and actually, the Tiger Driver is a finisher. You hit that, no one's kicking out of it, how it should be. So I hope we see more of that personally.
Me too. I'm sick of all these kickouts with finishers. I think it's supposed to mean something when you hit a finisher and someone kicks out. It should be more of a rare occasion, but everyone can kick out of a finisher nowadays, and no finisher is truly a finisher.
No, absolutely. And I know I'm kind of catching you off guard here. We've talked AEW Revolution to death, but unfortunately, you've been dealing with some terrible harassment and some constant bullshit. And you are one of the sweetest guys I know, honest to God, not to embarrass you at this point, but throughout all the years, I've met some amazing people, and you're obviously on the top of that list. I've got some great people in the chat that have stuck by me day in and day out, and you've always been one of them. And you've kind of gotten an unfair shake with what's been going on. So maybe you kind of want to enlighten people a little bit and give us a quick little explanation. But
Yeah, there's this guy on TikTok. I was in his community for 4 years. He does like gaming stuff, like retro games like Nintendo 64 and stuff. So I thought that was cool because those are the games I'm into. And
Yeah,
out of nowhere,
absolutely.
last month,
I grew up on that. I feel you.
yeah, like Super
I'm
Mario
old as dirt.
64. That's Super Mario 64 is probably one of the best games of all time. Also, WWF No Mercy. But
Absolutely.
last month, like he had like the whole community like block me and get rid of me, and I'm like, what the fuck did I do? So come to find out, a buddy that still contacted me. He reached out and said, "Hey, he's going on a live stream and saying that you're creating these fake Riddler accounts about his deceased friend that committed suicide." And I'm like, I did not do such thing. I don't know what he's talking about. So I tried to
Yeah,
reach out.
that's not your style. And to give people a little context too, you've been posting like Judgment Day memes and edits and all this stuff on both Instagram and TikTok. So in this time frame, funny enough, and I could show some proof if ever need be, you've gotten in close with both Liv Morgan and JD McDonough and Finn Balor, and these guys have like reposted your stories often, and so you started to get some traction with that, and people were really enjoying your edits, and you were actually talking to the talent. And I feel like it just like this jealousy came out, and people were starting to troll you, and it ended up with you being ostracized and taken out of this community unfairly, and it led to you dealing with a lot of stuff with like law enforcement and some nasty rumors and whatnot. And it's just been very unfortunate because I know it's certainly not in your realm of existence to be negative in any way. You're one of the most positive people I know. So
I called the police department. They said they can use my phone and trace my IP to just prove right away if I created those accounts or not. And I'm like, all
yeah.
right. So I showed him that conversation, and then he's like, oh, I don't want to entertain that on a live stream. I'm like, why don't you? You're so confident that I did it, right?
And now I have proof that can exonerate me, but you no longer want to listen. Like I said, that's what makes me think it comes out of this like stream of jealousy. Even when I tried to reach out, he thought I was basically another you impersonator, which I thought
Yeah,
was pretty funny. But
hilarious.
it's unfortunate that this type of drama even needs to exist in the first place, and people do get bitter and jealous when people get any type of traction online, and unfortunately, whether you're full of shit or not, no matter how much you bend over backwards for a community, they turn on you quicker than sand sinks. And unfortunately, I'm sorry you have to go through it, but hopefully, we've had ways to clear your name, and he's just not willing to listen.
Nope.
That's what makes me feel like it's just like it's obviously either if he's not directly behind it, then he's clearly involved because we've seen these other accounts and these fake things, and you've clearly been like in Skype recordings with me at that point in time. So it's unless you're able to
Yeah,
pitch your voice in multiple places and go live, it's clearly
we,
not you.
we were doing broadcasts and stuff, and then, remember I told you I'm getting these like clips again saying these accounts are coming in to troll him. It's either he's being trolled severely where he's very gullible, because remember what he said the other day, this fake Cody account came in and started trolling. Why would I troll him under my name?
I like, how stupid can you be? Like, yeah, Jake DeMarco is going to come into the chat and troll you at this point. I haven't mentioned this before, but it's been enough years removed from 2019. But it was funny. The first time I got swatted, it wasn't me directly. So they did swat me. They said that I was suicidal with a gun and I was going to hurt anybody that came near me, but I wanted to end my life too. But the address they gave, so where I live at this point, there's a cemetery that also has the same name, but one's like, Eve, one's Drive, one's Court, one's like Way, they're all these like different names. So it's the same street name, but if you don't have the right ending, you could be in a completely different part of town. So if you called it street instead of drive or way instead of boulevard, you'd be fucked.
Yep.
So they got the ending part wrong, and that's the cemetery in the center of town. So these poor cops had to go through and clear the cemetery, and they were shitting bricks. I found this out days later when they interviewed me and did all this stuff. They were really cool about it. But they were in the cemetery walking through, like thinking there's an active shooter. So they're searching, and they're like, it's like 2 a.m. It's super late. So when they finally interviewed me for all this stuff, they're like, so what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I review wrestling. And they're like, are you like a right wing commentator? Are you a gun guy? Like, what are? I'm like, I review wrestling. They're like, you mean the fake stuff like WWF? I'm like, yeah. They're like, Hulk Hogan? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, and this is the bullshit you're dealing with? I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. So after that, because my mother is deaf and lives with me at this point, they made a response plan with me so they wouldn't kill her for not complying with the, hey, because that was an issue the first time. They came here after the cemetery with their guns drawn, and it was a bit of a scary existence. But when they went through all that bullshit, they got my mom, and she's not complying because they have a flashlight in her eyes and they're yelling out commands, and she reads lips. She's completely deaf. So she's like walking down the stairs, and they're like, don't move, don't move, screaming at her. I'm like, she's deaf. Trying to get them to listen to me while everybody's fucking screaming. I wish I had that on camera. I got cameras not long after that. But it is nuts, Liz, and that's kind of the funny thing, you know. So they developed a response plan, and they would call my phone ahead of time, and they'd be like, "Hey, we have to have an officer come out," and they would have somebody come in and check all the rooms and shit, and make sure, like, "Oh, you're good," but they're like, "You're just reviewing wrestling, like you're not Alex Jones Jr." The detective was like baffled by it that we were good because they sent fucking porn to Danny's email for her school stuff, trying to get her in trouble. To her teachers CC'd. Oh, that was a fun meeting to explain. Like I could go into days worth of harassment bullshit. So unfortunately, hearing you getting the police and harassment in real world side of things really broke my heart, because you were just like the kindest guy. That's not you at all. And I really hope this comes to an end. I know it's a little bit weird to bring up on Revolution, but as much as we said about this show, I mean, I felt like it was something that had to be brought up.
He has a platform where he can defend himself. I got a platform now where I can defend myself, and I just want to know what the viewers think about that. I know we shouldn't probably keep rambling if you don't want to, but
no, we're chit-chatting, my buddy.
You know how I've told you I have autism, right? Like, that's just...
Yeah, you mentioned it a while ago, but it never... I actually forgot because it just never comes up in conversation. You never... You don't have any deficits. It's not anything... I swear I'm autistic. Looking back now, like the habits I had growing up and the way like I had certain aversions to things and how I handled stress, and
yeah,
I'm sure I'm on the spectrum. I absolutely believe it, but it's kind of a common diagnosis at this point.
I can handle in a good way. Like I've let him know this, and you know what? Funny enough, after I told him this, these fake accounts use the autism card too. So like at pretending to. Then he's like, that's solidified evidence that it's you.
But they weren't using it until you mentioned it live. And then suddenly, days later, these things came up. So it's like...
From the fake accounts, yep.
Yeah, like anytime you would try to do something to prove your innocence, they would use that information to further try and make you guilty. People find fun in it, and the anonymity and the thrill of it all, I guess, really pushes people. But... Tism Squad unite. I mean, even Liz just said, stop by her gaming streams on Twitch. She's got a great community. People are really accepting over there. They're a lot of fun. Thank you guys for helping me hit to 2,000 subscribers. We're at almost 2.1K. We were just last night at 2,000, so incredible that we're going up at this rate. But I really appreciate all the support. I am not here to poop on anybody's parade. I'm not here to backstab anyone. I'm not here to complain. I did the best I could for as long as I could. I put up with as much as I could for as long as I could.
You did great. Like,
a lot of therapy it took to realize that I wasn't really viewed as a friend. I was an employee, and it's heartbreaking to be shit on, and then I simply throw an apple, and that's enough to be blocked. But c'est la vie, such is life, my friend. And I know in my heart I've done nothing but try to instill good. I hope everybody still succeeds.
100%. You're loyal to the core, and that's
to a fault. And that's what gets me in trouble, you know, and that's what broke my heart. I mean, honestly, I was so upset seeing you deal with just the constant harassment. So it was crazy listening to you deal with all that shit. And we've had so many great chatters tonight. Gorilla Strong has been out here, Liz has been out here, Coot's been out here. We had Daniel San before, Trekopedia's been in here, Lorenzo. We had Paul shouting out before. Definitely want to hit up their music stream at some point. Like it's just been a great outpouring of not just support, but like affirmations. Like, hey, you're gonna start off small, you got to make it grow, but you want to put in the effort. Let's do this, and that's been my goal.
He said I must be some sort of mentally ill because I ended up touching him. I'm sorry. I'll keep bringing this up because
you got to.
Like he says I'm mentally, because I cussed him out, because what does he think I'm gonna do when he's bashing me day after day after day after day after day? This has been going on. Remember, I told you about this in the beginning of February, and he still does this now.
And you knew then.
The obsessive one. How am I the obsessive one?
I've since searched him out on TikTok and had to reinstall the app to do so. But I go ahead and I look it up and I'm like, all right, let's see if Cody's exaggerating. Like, this guy just went live. Let's see. It was like 30 seconds in. And he's like, and fuck Cody for. And it was like, Jesus Christ! Like, that's what made me think. Like, it had to be such a jealous type thing, because people will impersonate others, but you can tell what's legitimate, what's not. Usually the account was made a day ago, you've had one for years, those type of things. You just got to do a little bit of due diligence. Just a little bit of effort goes a long way.
I told you when I made another TikTok account, I'm like, I'm gonna make another TikTok account to reach out to him, and
just because he blocked the other one, and then we went ahead, but that was the only other one you had, and we had proof of such being used.
Then I'm like, you know what? Now I'm gonna show him that I'm gonna go to the police. Remember, I showed you the other day, and he ran away. Remember, he said, "Suck a dick" and all that. How are you not entertaining something you talk about every night on your live stream? See,
it's weird to bring it up and then not have that.
He went and right away, right? Like when he starts up his lives, it's right about me, and he says he has these concrete evidence because the 247 in these accounts, like, oh my god, it's
which don't match and don't line up, and none of it has ever gone back to anything that you've done. And you know what the funny part is, like, previous working with co-hosts, like, they would get into arguments with other people, and then there would be me in those people's chats saying a bunch of vile, awful things, like personal things. And they'd think it was me because of the personal stuff. But if you think back, it's stuff you talked about on air, a little bit here, a little bit there. People know the Lord. They know the excuses. And there was eventually proof, because I was live on air. I wasn't sending stuff. You could see what I was doing at that point. But point being, like, it took a while to be accepted. Like, hey, that's bullshit. That's not legitimate. But people would see me in the chats because people just like to make fake accounts and cause a little bit of drama. It's kind of what makes this YouTube world go round, sadly. But thankfully, we've got some great people that understand, hey, this is what's going on. This is how it feels. This is how it works. And I just want everyone to have a good time. I'm not out here to put in donations or start a Patreon or an OnlyFans. Well, I did start the OnlyFans, but that's for the banana stuff, And
well, I might start one too,
I did. You and I, hey. We're not that far apart. We could start that together. Unfortunately, you won't hear the audio, but I was sad today because I found out that history, it does repeat itself, sadly, and it led to me getting blocked. But I simply have said, I've not said one ill word at all. I just simply ate an apple. But let me pull this up really quick.
Fucking fat slob!
Oh, the video.
In Connecticut. I know you're talking about me, bro. I know you're talking about me.
Damn. Well, look at Jake. He ate about 7 people. Look at that. He used to look like shit. Now he's full of it.
That was a delicious apple, too. I got to say, I wasted it. I don't know where that went. I'll find it in a few days with a few worms. But maybe the roaches will eat it. There's enough of them around here. I didn't have any bananas. I had to go with it. The Tism Squad unites. But what was, if we're going to focus on AEW Revolution as we should, what was your favorite match of the night? What was the one that stood out above all the rest for you?
I would probably go with the steel cage match.
All right, what was it about it? I'm going to listen while I grab my drink. Please continue.
I just like the violence and brutality of it. Sure, the false finishes were more of a letdown of the match because, again, like we were talking about how you shouldn't go through thumbtacks and with a finisher and kick out of it. I like the brutal stuff though.
Yeah, with the styles clash, no doubt.
Yeah.
How quick was that? I'm like the Flash, just fatter.
I lost.
No, you're not wrong though, because I cut you off, but you were right. You know, the violence, the brutality, even the thumbtack spot taking you out a little bit, it still wasn't egregious enough to make you be like, "Oh, this sucks." It wasn't that. It was just like, I wish that ended it, but they still had a really good ending.
Oh, absolutely. At least they recovered from it and still had a good ending. But like, you just don't do that and kick out. I don't know.
I mean, Ospreay, I hope he's selling his hip, but Fletcher, the way he sold, he was kicking the mat and throwing like a tantrum over being in so much pain. It was incredible. I genuinely cannot see what comes next for these two, but I know it's going to be great. Fletcher's been this amazing heel since he turned, hey, you're Ospreay 2.0, you're just Will Jr., and he's like, no, I'm going to shed myself of this, I'm going to shave my hair, I'm going to change my identity, I'm going to be an evil son of a bitch. And even though he lost, he didn't lose anything from this match. Yeah, he got beat, but it feels like he's still a dangerous, evil bastard. It's just that Will's ability to endure outmatched the hatred that Fletcher had because of pure jealousy. He wanted to be where Will was. So I feel like that really encapsulates everything. As you said, that being your favorite is my favorite too, because it was the match that had the most story. MJF and Hangman had a decent story, but again, some of it was very, I hate saying convoluted. It was just a bridge too far or a bit too much. MJF is this dastardly heel, but they never did enough to make Hangman feel like the ultimate face, like the guy we're supposed to cheer for and get behind. And then, all right, MJF is going to light him on fire, but we've seen, Hangman burn down Swerve's childhood home and things in excess, excuse me. So the way they were attacking each other in such a visceral manner again, they really tore each other apart and just get into the DDTs and the near falls and the headbutts, and it felt like they hated each other. So that was good. But again, it wasn't like, oh my God, we need to see Hangman win here. And when he won, the crowd was like kind of a little disappointed. It was a really good match, but Page doesn't have that momentum. Even with the win here, I feel like MJF would have had so much more momentum behind his sales. Page winning this doesn't really elevate him in my regards.
I'm actually shocked MJF lost. That's one actual shock that they gave me tonight.
Yeah, out of the few possibilities, certainly, I agree.
Hangman needed to win because you haven't built him up enough. MJF, yes. I think he's just like a cool bad guy at this point. Like, you don't need to force it down where people need to boo him.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I think MJF should have won this match.
I really am shocked he didn't. And as good as it was, like I said, it's interesting to see where we go from here. Who does MJF face? He lost. Do they have a rematch, or do we see them move on? Where does he go from here? Who's lined up? It's kind of like he finished most of his stories, so he's got to start something new. And where does Hangman go? Oh, he's not even the number one contender. That's Swerve because of between him and Ricochet. So where does Hangman go from here? Does he try and become the number one contender again? Maybe, but I don't know. Maybe him and Ricochet battle it out. Could be okay. Mercedes and Momo Watanabe, even with the fans slightly getting behind it, that was a bore. I give that like a 3. And it's not just blind hate either. I can't get behind Sasha. Her work is piss poor. Her selling is awful. She looks very like a Barbie doll that's without a few joints to move. Like, she's not one of the upgraded ones. Like, her wrists move, but her elbows don't. She does certain things, and it looks so stiff and regimented and piss poor.
I don't understand what happened to her. Like I hate to keep comparing WWE to AEW, but like
Yeah.
for wrestlers like this that have been in both companies, I think it's okay. I don't know what happened to her like since she was in WWE compared to now. I think her acting was better in WWE under Sasha. The wrestling, like something downgraded when she went to AEW, and I don't know what.
It's baffling, and like you said, there was a severe downgrade. I mean, it was good work, but it wasn't to the point of where I was like, yes, I need to see this. And I feel like maybe they are building towards her and Athena, but Athena is the Ring of Honor champion. It's like, all right, that's the one to topple her. But for the mid-card women's title against the top title at the other company, it's not exciting. Swerve and Ricochet was good for the most part.
She's the best in-ring wrestler in the world. I don't know if Sasha is. Exactly.
Yeah, the tag match and both Okada and Brody King were pretty much boring because you knew neither team had a chance. Everybody was going to retain. Tony, you knew she was going to win, but her and Mariah put in a hell of an effort. I hated the glass spot where they got the champagne glasses, but when they did that big the Storm Zero and the Mayday for the near fall on the stage, that was a great moment. And then she got through the Storm Zero through the Hollywood ending table. That was cool. I liked that. I liked the ending. It was pretty definitive. 13-minute match. Didn't overstay its welcome, especially to some of the 30-minute matches before. I enjoyed it more than I probably would anything else. Takeshita and Omega, excuse me, again, way too long. At least 5 minutes less. A 28-minute plus match here. Don't mind me with the drunken somewhere. Will and Fletcher, I'd keep it the same. I love that. And then obviously Moxley and Cope just brought down the mood. I'd give this show like a 7. What are your final thoughts, my friend? What do you give this AEW Revolution pay-per-view?
I'm going to go with a 6.5.
Okay, I can respect that. So, like Liz said, when you get the CE no, you want to see no more of her on your TV.
Damn right, you know it. I personally think maybe I'll give it a better rating in a few days, but that main event just killed the vibe for me.
It brought it down to such a crawl, and you're like, all right, we were trying to get behind Cope. The audience is serenading him, and instead you're like, oh, God, like he's just going to lose again. He's going to be beat. It made sense to have him win and then have Christian interfere and get the title, and then you can give it back to Moxley if you needed to. But you wasted the triple threat cash-in, the cash-in in general, on a shitty triple threat. And then on top of it, it was like, why wouldn't he wait till the match is over, then cash in? Why do the triple threat? Like, it took me out of it. I don't know what they were going for. It made Christian look bad. It made, Cope look like he fucked up and couldn't beat Moxley. And then, he couldn't. Surprisingly, Moxley didn't look strong, though. He didn't look like, this conquering badass that can survive anything. He just looked like he lucked out once again and snuck out the win because he had the proper interference.
I think Edge should have just won tonight. Like, I'm sick of Moxley as champ, and I love Moxley, probably one of my favorite AEW wrestlers on the roster, but I just don't like the reign.
So what I would have done, honestly, it seems a little bit quirky, but with them coming up with their next special, especially for like St. Patrick's Day Slam and all of that, I would have had Edge win the title tonight, go off the air with the big celebration, and then when they open on the next Dynamite with Edge title celebration, that's when you have Christian come out. He hits him in the back with a chair. The rest of the family has FTR and whoever else would run out to help him locked in the back or beat up or whatever you want to call it. Hits him with the concerto, cashes in, pins him 1, 2, 3, and now you have Moxley versus Christian. Yes, it's heel versus heel. Christian will lose still, but it gives you something to do in between now and fucking Texas. We're not doing anything with the title. It never feels like it's a must-see because he's just going to retain. He's just going to retain.
I would have liked that. Something new for a few I would have liked that. Just change it up a bit. Don't be afraid to take risks. I think Tony Khan gets afraid of Jon Moxley losing.
No, absolutely. Like I said, giving the show a 7.5, you're 6.5. I totally agree with you. Liz is at an 8 out of 10. I agree with her in that sense because I know she's excited by certain things that were happening. She was really high on Omega, especially his entrance. I do like the Final Fantasy conductor doing his video game style entrance for pay-per-views only. It makes it feel special and gives you a little bit of that FOMO feeling. But overall, there's nothing essentially newsworthy coming out of here. It's as predicted. There was no shock. There was no, oh my, if Edge won and Cope, got the title, they could have been, oh my God, Moxley lost. Holy shit. But instead it's like Okada retained. Oh, look at this. Moxley, he retained. Oh, the Hurt Business retained. Oh, Mercedes retained. Oh, no kidding. Because they all have some either creative control or they're in Tony's ear. And then we go ahead and we get to the end of it and it's like, hey, where's the excitement? Oh, we're gonna have Kenny win the title. Well, no shit. Kenny didn't earn his spot. He was given that spot, much like Cena in the Chamber. But we didn't get the payoff of Cena turning heel like we did with Kenny coming in and just winning the title. So, sorry, Takeshita, you're just a victim of circumstance, but it's unfortunate. You have any final thoughts for the show tonight? I know it's at daylight savings. Everyone thinks it's 1 a.m., but it's actually 2 at this point. We're going late.
Yeah, throwing me off.
Right? I was so convinced it was last weekend, thanks to my wife. So,
just off top before we continue with Revolution here, final thoughts. Daylight savings is the dumbest concept ever.
Oh my God! I thought they were done with it. I hope Trump gets rid of it. I mean, there's so many advancements in farming, and it's not necessary anymore. You don't have to rely on actual daylight to see. It was when farmers needed the sun to work around, so they had to move the time so they would get more daylight while there was less daylight during the day. They had to move the hours back. Now we don't need it.
Which one should be how it is now, or how it was a few days ago? What time should we follow?
I would love for it to be still 1 a.m. Yeah, not have any no spring ahead because we would just stay where we are at this point. Because when we spring ahead, now we have to fall back in the fall. So I would just stay right where we were. It'd be 1:08, and we'd be happy.
Like stuff like that won't bother me because sure, like how it would be now, like in the summer, like it will get dark around 8. Like
no doubt. If it wasn't for Liz, I wouldn't have told everybody else, like, guys, I'm sorry, it's next weekend. I would have turned my clocks ahead last weekend. So thanks to Liz for saving my ass on that one. I mean, honestly, with this pay-per-view tonight, it just wasn't newsworthy like I hoped it would be. I have had fun streaming with you on Twitch and on YouTube. You and I did a recorded video the other day. It got 6,000 views in the first day. Holy shit. Like,
I'm shocked.
5.8K in the first day, almost 6K. And I was at like 1468 for subscribers. We're at 2.1K now. So thank you to all you sexy people for subscribing and for hitting the like button and for just continuing to hit those notifications when we go live. We're going to be live this Tuesday. That's right. Special for NXT Roadblock. This Roadblock is bigger than any PLE they've had in almost a year's time since Stand and Deliver. You've got Julia defending her women's world title against the North American champion Stephanie Vacour. Everyone keeps saying Julia's banged up, but I think that's bullshit. I think Jordynne Grace is going to break that up and she's going to make it a triple threat for Stand and Deliver. We'll see. We have Obafemi taking on Moose for the NXT Championship. It's Javon Evans is taking on Ethan Page in a street fight. The promos they did for this last week were great with the press interviews. I'm excited for all of it. We're getting Jordynne Grace and Roxanne in that match, and then of course the Hardy Boys defending their TNA fucking titles against Fraxium, who have become my favorite tag team of the last year. Fraxium have the weirdest pairing ever. You have Kid A being made to wear a mask. Now he's Axiom, and Nathan Frazier. It's like, all right, he's done some stuff. These two have excelled at tag team wrestling. They have revolutionized the NXT tag team game back to what it was in the black and gold glory days. If you haven't seen their stuff, check it out on the NXT YouTube channel. They have showcased many of the Fraxium wins. They have been phenomenal. I'm so excited for this match this upcoming week. What are you looking forward to, Cody? What are your final thoughts, my friend?
I'm looking forward to tomorrow going to Monday Night Raw.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you're going to be there. Seth Rollins, CM Punk, match number 2 in a steel cage. You're going to be at Madison Square fucking Garden, my friend. And then I wish you were going the next night to the NXT show in the, what is it, the arena or whatever they're calling it. But it's the smaller, version of MSG, but still, it's going to be great.
Garden Theater, I think so.
Yeah, the theater. That's what it is. The theater at MSG. Thank you. Spaz be slapping me around right now. But, I appreciate everybody hanging out on Twitch. Make sure you check out Liz on Twitch as well. I'll have her information in the description box down below. Her and I predicted WrestleMania last week. We're going to see how right we are when we actually get the full WrestleMania cards. You and I, again, last week, we covered Raw. We talked about SmackDown, news and rumors. We're going to have another episode this Tuesday. It's doing well. That's right. It's the Into Somewhere weekly breakdown. You and I are going to talk about everything coming up in the wrestling world, what we thought of the last 2 live shows, obviously Raw and SmackDown, what's coming up on NXT. We had a great time doing it, so that'll be out this upcoming Tuesday. Got a lot of big shit going, We're going to be live this Tuesday for Roadblock, then Friday for Sacrifice. There's just a lot coming up that's going to be worthwhile. So you guys want to make sure you tune in. Check out the Spaz Phoenix YouTube channel as well. I guest star over there on the State of Wrestling. We have a lot of fun. I'm telling you, you guys don't want to miss out. It's some great conversations. We cover everything NXT, TNA, and typically, it sounds a little bit chauvinistic in a way, but the NXT audience is more of the smart fan. I hate to say that, but the ones that look into the dirt sheets, they're looking into news and rumors. So that's why I'm saying them constantly broadcasting that Julia's banged up, but it's not a serious injury. I think it really is kind of like another bait, hook, line, sinker scenario, and it's bullshit, but we'll see what happens. We're going to have a great time this Tuesday on Roadblock, and we'll obviously hear from how you made out at WWE Raw from Madison Square Garden. Cody, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate everybody in the chat hanging out with us. Like I said, make sure you hit the subscribe, turn on notifications, hit the like button. If you have the bell on, you'll know when we go live and put out our next videos. We're going to keep uploading as much content as possible, but I appreciate all of you more than you know. Cody, I'm telling you, my friend, thank you so much for calling in. Do you have any final thoughts for the night on whatever you want to bring up?
I think we got what we... I just want to keep bringing up that main event, so I'll end up keeping repeating myself here, so...
You know what, though? You're right, because the main event was so disappointing. It really was. I had hoped for something interesting to happen. Give us something. Give us some type of something to hang our head on. But instead, they didn't give it to us. And it's unfortunate because they really could have. They could have made it somewhat special, like with the Cena heel turn. They could have done something unexpected with a Cope victory or a Christian even. And they could have course corrected in a few days, a la, Tuesday in Texas, but that's not what we got here.
Well, like Edge winning tonight, right? Or Cope, whatever we call him nowadays. I don't like the Cope thing. I rather them just do Adam Copeland, by the way.
Yeah, you and me both. The Cope is just a terrible name. I'm not a fan of it at all. So
he's always Edge to me.
He has to be. He absolutely has to be. I mean, like I said, I saw him retire. Spaz saw his last match in WWE. We knew what we were looking forward to. I wanted to have a little bit more.
On the night he retired. Fun fact, I
was
there as a kid too. I was in the rest.
See?
So, small world.
Yep, the Bridgeport show, right? I think it was. Yeah.
Webster Bank Arena.
Yep. Absolutely. It's funny how time flies. I apologize. I'm thinking my eye all night. Between allergies and everything, my left eye is just like crusting shut and gooping up. So the whole stream, I'm like, I can see out of half of it. But thankfully, everybody's been enjoying the show. We've been hanging out on Twitch. We've been live on AEW Revolution Review on YouTube. This has been a great time. Cody, tell them where they can find you, my friend.
Judgment Day Air on Twitter, or if you want to follow me on Instagram, Cody O'Needy316. Hopefully, maybe one of those accounts will pop up in his stream one day, and that'll be me too.
It could be. You never show for sure. I don't know what you'll be into, but at that point, you're never quite sure. Could be all 1,000 fake accounts for you. You know, everybody's out to get their get their bread.
Yes, sir. If I come into your stream under my real account, you never know. It could be another one of my fake accounts. You know,
could be something you're hiding from the rest of us.
Yes.
Well, we included your YouTube and whatnot down below, so people can go ahead and find you. That'll be in the description box. We appreciate it greatly. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out tonight. It's been a great time. Thank you for a nice little drunken stream out of nowhere. I have been your full of shit host. That's right, the one, the only Jake, a.k.a. Countdown Ended. Speaking for Spaz, hopefully he's getting some beautiful sleep and some beauty rest. Thank you to him. Check out his YouTube channel. He's on Spotify. He's on Rumble. He's everywhere you need to be. Thank you to those that hung out on Twitch with us. You guys have been great all night. We're going to sign out of there first, even though they got the full introduction. I think we might have to run it one more time. Cody, we're going to hang up. I will talk to you after, my friend. But until then, I again hope you all stay sexy and have a great night.